Welcome to the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon podcast. Today we have a special guest with us. And if this is the first time you are listening to this podcast, this is a podcast to share stories about business leaders in Asia. And today we have a special guest with us who is also a speaker and also a trainer, and he is a longtime friend of mine. And as you can see in his background, if you're watching this on YouTube, he is a racer as well. So I have a ton of questions when it comes to racing. So let me just do a quick introduction. So we have Rizal Azis here with us, and you can find him on LinkedIn and many other platforms. So he's like I said, international speaker, leadership specialist, 20 years of experience. You can find a lot of his content on YouTube and many other platforms. So he was also based in Japan and Australia for 14 years. So if you go to YouTube, when I was doing research for this interview, there is a speech that he gave last year in 2022, which is the is imperfect, right? Imperfect perfection.
Incomplete leader.
Incomplete leader. Okay, so incomplete leader you can find on LinkedIn, and he has actually executed trainings for brands and banks such as HSBC, Ambank, Prudential, Chubb Securities, and many more. And I think he is the first MBA holder that I had on the podcast. So he has an MBA
Really?
from Victoria, and he's fluent in Japanese. All right. So welcome to the podcast, Rizal.
Hey, good to have the opportunity to come and see you, man. I really enjoy every time we get to speak. So thanks for having me on board, Bob.
Yeah.
How are you doing, man?
No problem. I'm doing good as well. Yeah. So the first question I always like to ask my guests, and this is a very important question. So this is a podcast to share stories about Asian business leaders. So what is your favorite Kung Fu movie, Rizal?
Kung Fu movie. Whenever you say the word Kung Fu, the first person that comes to my mind is always Jackie Chan. Because back in the days when I was much younger, you always have replays on RTM, and one of my favorites that I'll always watch no matter what is Drunken Master.
Nice, nice. Drunken Master, right? Drunken Master is a great movie because it is an underdog story. So
Ah,
so
yeah.
if I remember correctly, it is about always there's the disciple Sifu story. So the disciple is not very disciplined, but then he likes to drink. When he drink, he come up with this kung fu. that is very powerful. So it's something like that. But Drunken Master, definitely, I would say one of the very good stuff from Jackie Chan when
Yeah.
he had a super amazing body. That's the main thing you can remember from
Hey,
the
he still
Drunken
do.
Master. He still
He
does,
still.
but at that time he had the Marvel
Yeah.
Marvel superhero body at that time.
Oh
That time,
yeah.
yes.
Mm.
The if you search for Jackie Chan six pack, and then the photo that will come up is that Drunken Master movie. That is his peak physique in that
Ah,
movie. Yeah, that is
yes.
his peak music physique. So yeah, do check out that movie. I've had somebody else also said Jackie Chan in the past, but yes, that Jackie Chan has so many movies, and
Mm.
Drunken Master is definitely one. So yeah, so Rizal, I like to start with this. Like just now, you mentioned the word incomplete leader, right? So
Yeah.
what is an incomplete leader?
The incomplete leader. Something that means so much to me. I think that I've been in senior management positions for about 14 years already, minimum. And then I've worked in many organizations. And there's always that we are always, whenever we start work, we get all excited about the new role that we're doing. And then I can almost guarantee that usually in the first few months that you're in there, you start to realize that, hey, this place is a very different way of operating. And then the things that used to work for me in my previous organization may not work. And I'm constantly learning. Every time I join a new organization, I meet new set of people, I have to reset myself, retune, re-listen, re-understand, and then just trying to find, how best I can, make an impact in the organization. But a lot of people feel that is a weakness, which is not. So the incomplete leader showcases the importance of us knowing the imperfection, and there is nothing wrong with that because that is the journey towards building your leadership skills, your ability to communicate with people, and ability to make an impact in an organization. So I think you mentioned just now, you saw me talk about it. And that's a very personal story, the incomplete leader. because I had a lot of troubles when I was in Japan, even though I was flying high in terms of the career, but there was a lot of up and down. And I confided it to one of my bosses, and my bosses says that, Rizal, why you're stressing out too much? Imagine a Japanese boss saying this. Japanese bosses, they work till like 12 o'clock at night every day without fail. And they say, why do you stress yourself so much? And she told me about the concept of wabi sabi. So wabi sabi is about the acceptance of imperfection and the beauty of imperfection. And I thought that, well, I've never heard of that before. You go to Japan, everything has to be perfect, but in actuality, it's not. So I use that in everywhere I go. So I know that when I go for trainings or when I go and meet people, sometimes we got to be ready to be humble. We got to be ready to acknowledge our strengths and weaknesses. And once you know that, you realize that you're incomplete, but that's fine as long as you realize they are incomplete. If you're not, then you're in a state of denial. And that is the most dangerous type of leaders that you may have, because people who deny are the ones that are hard to communicate with, that can create a toxic working environment, and usually very autocratic, very dictatorial and very hard to deal with. So that is what the incomplete leader is all about.
That is awesome. Yeah, do check out that YouTube video. Just search for Rizal Azis. And I believe he was speaking at the MAPS event, right? Malaysian Association of Professional Speakers event.
Yeah.
And he shared a very personal story. And do check out, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it is a very heartfelt speech that he gave, a heartfelt, I think it's just 15 minutes, but a very good video to watch about Rizal's story in Japan.
Nice.
So, and one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about is also that you also help teams, right? So that you mentioned you help this. I mentioned you help work with all these brands. So like, what do you help these teams with?
Thanks, Bob. You know what? I mean, I've been scouring the market, showcasing what I can do, what I can help companies with, and a lot of people or a lot of organizations come to me looking for assistance in trying to build a better team, and it's all about understanding. So let me go one step back. So for me, when I was in Australia and Japan, and when I was working with my team members back then, I was faced with multiple types of challenges. Western Western friends that I had before, the way that they were working, very unique, very different, very they put they place an importance on their own personal growth. Their own self is much more important than the team in general. It's not selfish, but it's just how the Westerners think. Then you go to Japan, where it's a complete different. When you come into an organization, it's all about the organization. Loyalty is key. So if you join a company, highly likely you will also die there as well. Literally. That's one of the reasons why I left Japan, because my boss stayed there until he retired. One of my bosses, right? So, but when you come back to Malaysia, then it's a bit different. It's a mix. There is a bit of loyalty, but also they want to look at personal development and personal growth. So there is, job changings and whatnot. And come back to here, I realized that when I was working in Malaysia, we were managing our team members quite well, but I think that we can do so much more in trying to improve how we manage our team. So a lot of the clients that came up to me, they want to know how to help their teams. I focus a lot on how to communicate effectively. So simple topic, right? But many people are struggling with that. Secondly, understanding the framework of how a team is supposed to set up. So this is one of my favorite topics. I linked it up to Lord of the Rings and also the Avengers. It's this one thing called the Balbin team role model, which I truly believe in. Because if you understand that concept and you look at Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, how come those guys can succeed going past the adversities, the challenges that they have in front of them, and still kick ass? And the third one is coaching. So I tend to bring in a lot of coaching to my clients, irrespective of what topic or what issues they have. Generally, it's always about managing their team. So I put coaching elements into that. Um, Recently, a lot of my clients are having a lot of issues with team bonding or team knowing each other. So we cannot discount the fact that the past 2 years, a lot of us were working from home. For you and me, Bob, we are fine working from home because this is our office, this is how we operate. We go to our clients' spaces. But for most of the clients, they were required to suddenly work from home, and then they get accustomed to it. And now they're required to come back to the office. But get this, they will say you can come back to the office minimum 2 days a week, and 3 days you can work from home. Now, some business owners or employers are smart. They say, okay, that we can do that, but make sure that you set up a timetable so that everybody can still mingle. But some just leave it up in the air. Suka hati, you can just either do 2 days here and there, and then whenever you want to come in, as long as you come in 2 days. So what happens is that there's no collective effort to get people to sit down and talk beyond just work. No socializing, no relationship building and whatnot. And then they come to me saying that my team is having an issue, a lot of conflicts and whatnot. So I said that, look, let me understand how your teams are working. How do they communicate and how do they execute their job? And it's sad because a lot of them are still working remotely and they don't see that as a problem. And when the problem occurs, they turn a blind eye on it. So yeah, so a lot of things relate to me fixing that. So all things related to for people to understand each other, people to understand why teams work a certain way, and then effective communication methods if you are on hybrid working arrangement, mixed face to face and whatnot, because that's the reality of the world now. And also, last one is that teams these days, most of my clients all have overseas based team because it's now a borderless world, right? Now they talk about understanding cultures, understanding difficulties in trying to work with people from a different background. All that I have it in my working experience. So I use my working experience and put it into a program and then I run it through with them. So yeah.
Yeah, that is great. And I imagine that when you work with all these different brands and companies, it is a tailored solution. So like you first
Mm,
start with understanding what are their challenges, whether it's a remote team, a big team, or or even whether they are working from home. So do you
yeah.
have a set process for this?
Yeah, generally, because whenever a client comes to us, I'm sure you do too, right? They will come. I got so many problems, Bob, and I just, if you ask them to, if you buy one teh tarik for them, probably you need two teh tarik to cover all the problems. So I would go to them that look, we've got let's say a 2 day program, and the focus is on this particular topic. Let's say communication. So I said to them that can you tell me some instances at work that is troubling you in terms of communication, and what are the issues that you see? So we probably list down 4 or 5, and then
Mm,
I have to get them to commit. That's okay. From these 5 or 6 examples that you've given me, which one do you think that we should focus on for this particular program? So I've got to get
mm,
commitment and then understanding from the client so that they prioritize what the issues are. And then once that is done, I know what are the key issues that I want them to focus on. Then we'll look at the potential outcomes. So we know these are the problems. What are the outcomes that you want? So from
mm,
there, I sort of get the idea because for me to solve a client's problem, it's very easy to just come in with a generic program and say it's going to work out, but it won't. Because then if you're not tackling the problem, we're disappointing the clients and we are misleading the participants. So once the outcomes are set, generally I would always do a survey, and it's a mix of scaling questions. It's a mix of open-ended questions. There'll be some trick questions in there just to throw people off balance, just to get really what's in the inner work, and keep it anonymous and use that as a finding. And those things are important for me because at the start of the session, I'll tell them why they're here and what are they possibly going to be learning from it, and what are the outcomes that we want. Because setting the right focus and the frame of what we're doing is important. And then get them to just put it on verbatim or on writing the issues that they have, and then put it on the wall. So once you start doing that, they will be reminded as to why they are here, and this is their perspective. I can talk about many things, but we want to solve those things on the wall now. So somewhere
oh,
throughout the program, they would have also a set of solutions which they came up themselves, and things that I can add on based on what they have learned. So it contrasts each other, so it helps. And then that's one thing that I do. The final one is that for most of my training, because it's either a day or 2 day or 3 day or even a week's type of program, 70% of what I do is very practical. So I tend to do a lot of activities, simulations, games, role plays. I want people to try and utilize what they already know. Because whatever I talk about, most of them know already, right? I mean, same like you, Bob. If you're talking about marketing, people know the terms, right? But they don't know how to make sense of it and then why it applies to them. And it's usually the dollar and cents efficiency, or it helps me with making my work easier. So a really good trainer is able to do the practical activity and look at it, debrief it so that it makes sense to the participants, whatever level they are. And that's how I would do it for most of it, for most of the program. Unless it's a team building activity, then it's purely, much more focused on practical activities and a lot of fun. Yeah, so it's for me. I think I'm quite excited. I'm an extrovert, so I like having people around me. I'm quite loud, and I will do anything to make sure that people enjoy the session. And whilst they enjoy, they learn as well, because we need to get the brain juice flowing in the session. So I'll put them on their toes. They won't expect what's coming. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's very unique. I think I like the point where you said you write the problems on the wall. So it makes it clear, and you strive to reach that same goal as well. So I
Mm,
think one of the things I heard when I was speaking to you today is that there is one common theme, and I spoke to other leadership coaches as well. One common theme that I heard you say is sort of self-awareness.
mm,
Like you have to, like you said, throughout your career you move from different countries, different cultures, and then
mm.
into new companies, new cultures, and then you have that realization. I also, at growing older, I was like, oh yeah, why did I do this last time? Why as a leader I do all these stupid things
Uh,
last time,
yeah.
like crush it. Like for aspiring leaders listening to this podcast, like what are your tips? Because I know that you have many years of experience and working in different cultures and companies, but I think the main key thing before you move to learning or move to is that like you said, you don't want to work under a dictator. The only thing with the dictator is that dictator is not maybe is, but most of the time not self-aware that he has these things to improve. So like,
Mm.
what are your tips when it comes to self-awareness?
Well, thanks, Bob. Very deep question.
Mm,
And in fact, a lot of people do ask me. Leadership
mm,
is such a broad
mm,
concept, a broad title that can mean a lot of things. But for me personally, it's something that I think is important, and I sometimes fail to do it.
mm,
Which is gratitude and humility. So I think gratitude is important. For whatever that you do, you got to be thankful. Wherever you are, because once you start feeling grateful about the things around you, you acknowledge the existence of that thing.
mm,
All right. So when you're attentive to the details that are around you, then you feel much more better. You have a sense of humility, because once you feel humility, you look up at that thing, and then you start to find the real values about it. And of course, another part is being very honest, because honesty is key. If you're just a leader that acknowledges what is good, what is happening around you, and you have a sense of gratitude, honesty comes into play. Because for me, that is the value of leadership that I think is critical. But I always ask the same question to my participants. If you were to close your eyes now and imagine the a leader or someone that had made an impact to you in your life, either in career or in your life, but had that leadership element, what were the key things that you thought was valuable? So a lot of people would say that either their former bosses were very attentive, they listen to them, they provide support, and so on. But all that rounds up to people who has high gratitude and humility. So for me, that's the critical part. All the skill sets and everything, capabilities, you put that aside first. The human factor of being able to feel gratitude, showcase gratitude, and feeling the using the right, being huge. How do I put it? Being aware that not everything is you're good at. Yeah, and I struggle at that. Every time I go somewhere, I'm always like, oh, I got X number of experience. I can do this. I will always have to eat humble pie after that. Always.
mm,
Yeah. And when I started training 2 years ago, I begin to realize that even though I'm experienced, even though I have a lot of information and knowledge about certain things, I in fact learn a lot more about leadership through the training when I train the individuals that that are in the program. I find so many stories, so many feedbacks, so many different scenarios that I would have never known how to deal with it if I were to put in that situation. And we had to think together and try and resolve that problem the participants had. So yeah,
Yeah, thank you,
gratitude.
Rizal.
Yeah,
Now I have it. So that few minutes I will clip onto LinkedIn. That'll be our LinkedIn clip. So that is gold there. So that is that is right. So humility and
yeah,
humility and what else?
gratitude.
Gratitude and humility. Yes, those TGH very important. So I completely agree as well. So start with gratitude and then humility to know
Mm,
what you can improve and what you can learn. So yeah, I next I'd like to talk about the elephant in the room. So like if you're watching this on YouTube, right? So we have behind Rizal, there is this background, right? So he is of course an avid go-kart racer. But I see like got dragon and then got snake also besides the RedPACT Asia logo. So what's the dragon and the snake doing there?
yeah, thanks, man. I actually, when you mentioned that the name of your podcast is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, actually, for my own personal theme is, Crouching Dragon, Hidden Snake. The two things here. So I'm a snake ear guy, and my wife is a dragon ear
Yeah.
person. So that's why I have the theme for everything that I do for racing. I have the snake and the dragon. They both represent very different types of personalities.
Mm.
Yeah. So you can't really see it here, but actually on my helmet, on the right and left hand side, there is the snake, and there is the dragon, Chinese writing or Japanese writing on both sides. So that is to push me forward when I'm racing.
Awesome. Yeah, that is very interesting. So there's also a fun fact. There's also a Jackie Chan movie called The Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. One of my previous guests mentioned that as well. So
Really?
yeah, so you can
Okay,
check.
gotta
There's
check it
also
out.
a idiom, and then yeah. So about go kart racing. So I know you're a big fan of racing. I personally don't watch F1. Like fun fact, I went to F1 in 2019. I didn't watch it. I went to the F1 to watch concert. So so okay, so I know there's a lot of F1 series out there. There is the Drive to Survive, there's so many, like, so why should, like, because F1, right, I think the one, like, I quite like the some of episodes of Drive to Survive. I
Mm,
learned the dynamics of a team.
mm,
The Drive to Survive does not really focus just on the driver. They talk to the owner lah. They talk to the engineer,
mm.
the various teams. So like okay. So first question, why should people watch F1?
Why should people watch F1, right?
Mm,
It's a tough sport to watch, to be honest,
mm,
because one, the timing is always very odd. In Europe, then you're gonna have to watch it like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, unless you're the type that can record and then watch the next day. If you have that sort of patience. So for me, I tend to watch it live as much as possible. It's human time. And also, when you watch racing, it's very easy to suddenly think that they're just going around in circles, right? Pushing. And then for some circuits that are very tough, like Monaco, it's really just, you know, once you have the qualifying position, highly likely that's how it's going to end up at the end, unless you have some crashes or did not finish DNFs, or problems that stop them from going and then somebody overtakes. Okay, so mistakes or whatsoever. But if people are interested in trying to find out a sport that has technical details, very critical information, and then there's some drama in it, then F1 definitely is one of it. It is not like how it was before. I think that because technology made information more accessible, so for an F1 junkie like me, I have signed up on my phone the F1 app. So what the F1 app does is that it has a lot of information pre and post race, and then during race you can see almost everything in there. You can see lap data, tire use, lap times, issues, and then conversations between racer and team, and that's just information overload. I'm just so excited. You're turned on by the whole information, and it definitely relates to how people run businesses. Because I always tell this to people. F1 is about being fast. But the difference between, in a qualifying session between first, second, and third and fourth is, 1/10, 1/100 of a second. You can't even say it by word. Even if you say 1 second, it's only 1 second, right? So this is less than a second. But how does a team achieve a faster car by, like, 2/10 of a second? So that's, 0.02 10 faster than the guy before. And the amount of money spent to be able to achieve that is in the millions. And the number of headcounts is crazy. You consider the sponsors and the people involved, so it's nuts. So the amount of effort and the amount of money, investment, time is humongous. You're just such a small thing. So that is what is fascinating for me. And that relates then to, go-karting, which I probably say in a bit. But for F1 fans, if you want to look for a truly global sport that travels around the world, has a bit of persona in it, like you see in Drive to Survive, there's so many people with different backgrounds, the stories and whatnot. And then you like the fact that there are, branding, a lot of branding elements in there. And you want to see how management really work, then go and watch F1. It's really fun. Don't just watch F1 by just turning on and watch the race. Watch the practice session, watch the qualifying session, read the news, read the gossip, go on YouTube, go and look up all the technical stuff in there. It'll be fun. It's a turn on, man. I love it. Then you watch it, it'll be more fun. It's just like watching a band, right? If a band goes out and play, they're great, that's it. But if you know the story, who they are, what instruments they play, what type of instruments they play, what was their background? They're doing rock, but prior to this, they were like jazz, or prior to this, they were nashid. That adds to more spice to the whole thing. It's persona, it's personal branding, just like what you do.
Yeah, I get all my F1 news from you results. So I see like, oh, you post this is the qualifying, this is the race. Now I get extra tips. So I'll definitely get the F1 app next time. And I watch
Had to pay,
the
okay?
F1. Need to pay.
Of
To
course.
pay
That's right.
to get all the data in need to pay. Yeah. So like I know you are also a go-kart racer, right?
Mm.
Professionally, or how is the racing like?
Okay. So I don't race professionally, but I am actively playing go-karts. And I think I want to give a shout out to the Malaysian racing scene now, because now in Klang Valley alone, we have at least 13 active tracks that people can go to, where 3 years ago, we probably have less than 7. Now suddenly it doubled up. And that's good because there's more opportunities for people to try go-kart racing. And I know a friend of mine who has a racing club called Hot Rocket Racing Club, and I'm doing something with them as well to promote what they do and also to promote me as well in what I do. And they have been very active in trying to get younger generations to come in and go race both go
Mm.
karts and also sim racing. Now back to go karts, right? I love and I enjoy go kart. It's the most cheapest way to be able to experience an F1 format type of race, because at the end of the day, right, when you're unlike any other sports game like soccer or even badminton, you play doubles, or basketball, you play in a team. It is fun. It is fun. But go kart, the minute you get onto the cart, you're on your own. And then you have a set number of laps to go, or a set amount of time. And then you have X number of competitors. And then you're supposed to go very fast. Everybody has almost the same type of cart, same speed, but then someone has to finish number one. So where do you find that opportunity to be fast? How do you go and overtake someone? How do you defend? Everything there comes in here. So that's what I love about it, because you go in there, you're just so focused on what you do, and you get into this particular zone. And there are many go-kart tracks out there that are, some are quite easy to do, some are super duper challenging, and some are very basic. But if you are interested in trying go-kart, I suggest you to go to, Morak Wanutama, which is next to Wanutama.
The indoor one,
Uh,
right? I saw the
yeah,
indoor go-kart.
that one is outdoor. Morak
Outdoor.
Wanutama is outdoor. The indoor one is Formula Karting in Strand Mall, Kota Damansara. They have Wiz Go Kart in Kota Damansara Tropicana. And you have, of course, the one indoor in Sunway Serene, which is near Kanajaya, the old Western Digital Factory. That's also one of my favorite, very rugged, and it's actually the one in the picture behind me. So that is the one in Sunway Serene, a 400-meter long indoor track, very slippery, very tough. And then we got plenty. Pinnacle in Elite Subang, and then we have Elizo Batu Tiga and Stikating in Shah Alam, Sepang. It's just plenty. Puchong and Serdang just came out 2 weeks ago. Wow. So it's a good time for people to pick up go-karting. And also, right, even though I like go-karting, my biggest fear is actually on the road. I am scared of driving on the road because on the road, it's like you can't tell who you're driving with, and some of them don't even know that the signal exists. And you just have so many things. Like, you can have drunk drivers, you get rage drivers. It's just so, and stressed drivers because of the traffic jam. So usually on the road, I'm very calm. But if you want to let go of all that, go on track, do your talking on the track. That's where you let go. And then that's the beauty of go-karting. It's just so fast, so furious. Even you look from outside, it's like alamak, it's like some merry-go-round. But try and go on it, and then you'll see. So, and final one, right? Go-karting is a huge cardio exercise. It is so painstakingly tiring. That
Yeah, I
question,
remember I watched an interview with Lewis Hamilton say he lose a few kg of
yes,
water, and he say because he has to stand up against all the G force,
yeah,
that it requires a lot of core work, and then it
yeah,
cannot
yeah.
be a bit fat also. Cannot.
That one's nuts, man. That one's nuts. I think that for Hamilton himself, okay, I can't compare. I can't say that you go into a go kart and you feel like it's an F1. It probably a million years difference, but the concepts are the same. You won't have that kind of G. However, having said that, you asked me if I was a professional racing driver. I wasn't. I'm an avid racing driver and I use the rental cars, but I actually own my own go kart. So I do have a race card, a 125cc card. Now that thing can go to like 100 kilometers an hour, and you can feel the G's, and you can feel, when you're braking, suddenly the body of the car moves, right? So Bob, if you're ever interested and you want to feel how it is to drive a racing car, I'm happy to bring you in. Just make sure you wear double underwear, so so if anything happens, accident can be covered. But that one, I always bring my clients. I always bring friends that I think they want to go the next level. So they're paying the rental cars like behind. It's fast, but it's still very bulky. And you got all those cover. But when you pay the race card, that is the one that separates the ones that have the balls and don't have the balls, because you can really push that thing. And I don't even know the max of my card, honestly, because it just keeps on going until very very fast, and you just have to brake before turning into your corner, and depending on the type of corner, you can take it fast, medium, or slow. So yeah, go for it, man. It's
I
fun.
I tried the one in Federal Highway in Shah Alam.
Oh,
That
that's
one,
Batu
yeah, yeah.
Tiga,
Batu
Alezo.
Tiga, yes, I tried before. I'm a very not very good driver. I'm a very careful, scared, scaredy cat driver. So
No,
yeah,
lah,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
lah. Still, you'll be fine.
yeah, yeah. So I think thank you so much for sharing. I think this is a great shout out to the industry and also to people into racing. But like last question is that, is there, what are the learnings or leadership lessons that you can take out of racing?
Wow, so many, so many. I think one of the ones that I always share with my participants is that when it comes to racing, when you're on a cart or when you're in a competition, you will always have doubts, right? And then you will always have fears. Am I going to do well? Am I too slow? Am I too heavy? Or am I making too many mistakes? One key aspect of leadership is to be able to quash those fears, control it, and use that energy as the thing that drives you forward. And then, secondly, when it comes to racing, as I mentioned, it's about a difference of a few seconds. Even though F1 had that, 1/10 or 1/100 of a second difference, in go kart, when you get to that competitive level, it's the same. The difference is less than a second. So the teams that I've been racing now these days are all less than a second's difference. It's like if I make a small mistake in a turn, uh, I will just lose out my position. So in leadership, it's all about that minor improvements, even if it's by 1%. You find that 1% somewhere. And over the long term, you have a huge improvement. A lot of people are expecting huge change when they do something, But the reality, good change comes through little improvements, just like racing.
That is amazing. Yeah, because if you race or even if you watch F1, there's so many things that come to it, like team dynamics. Like I mentioned, when you watch Drive to Survive, it's so team dynamics. It's not just the racer. It's so many things. The your card, every single thing will make a difference and eat up. And in racing, 1 second will decide
Mm,
who is the winner.
yeah,
uh
definitely.
and all the small details, like what I love watching, if I do watch F1, is I actually only love to watch the pit stop. I love to watch how they change the tire. Change the tire. And I said, "Wow, this guy changed tire very fast." So that is the thing I love to watch, not the race. I said, "Oh, he
Okay.
changed tire very fast." The whole team, right? That is like practice in perfection. Like in 1 second, they change all the four tire and do all the service in,
Power,
in like a few
man.
seconds. That is my favorite thing to watch in a F1 itself,
It's
right?
it's very crucial, right? The pit stop is the most crucial thing to happen in F1 because it's not a set thing, right? You when you do pit stop, it's when you pit, uh, what tires do you put in? Because the F1 rule is you need to use two types of tires. So if you come in with a hard tire, you have to go out either with the medium or soft. So
Yeah.
you can't use the same tire for before and after the pit, right? And
Oh.
then you can change as well. You can change the aerodynamics, the engines, the setups, and everything during that time. But yeah, Red Bull did it in 2 seconds, right? So one, two, go already, right? That's so
Oh.
quick.
It's not only that. Like I think one of the lessons we can take from F1. This is what when I watch F1. I'm not a big F1 fan, but when I watch F1, this is one of the things I hear the commentators say. Is he going to a pit stop now? Is he going later? Because it's like in our previous episode, I talked to a pilot, which was Sao Yong, which I just published
Oh, okay.
as well. So he said, as a pilot, you have so many things to consider, like weather. You have to consider the amount of fuel. So for
Yep.
F1 driver, it's not just I'm the fastest I've been. They time the pit stop. The pit
Mm.
stop, whether they do it now or they do it to the end of the race,
Yep.
to have that last mile, it is so different. Like how much like you said, the qualifying, the
Yep. Yep.
qualifying shapes how they will race in the actual race.
Yeah.
So there's so many things to watch, but of course you need a lot of patience to watch F1. It's
Yeah.
a
A lot of
very long
patience.
race.
But come and race, Bob. Come and race
Can't
with
race.
me. And
Oh
I'll bring.
no,
Come bring. Bring.
I only do consistent speed.
Uh,
Filter speed. I raced before last time. I consistent speed around. Not like, even when I drive, I'm a very careful driver. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll come to one try again.
I'm racing
Uh.
tomorrow night. If you want to come and see, I am at Morak One Utama tomorrow, 9:30 to 12. There's a race called the
Oh.
Ramadan race. Next to it is the Euro event. You know that I think they have a flywheel, and then some circus things over there. But the race is going to be on the side. I haven't raced for a long time already, for about two
Mm.
months because of my new baby. But I can't wait to get back on track and then just
Uh,
try and see how I do.
you look top form. So all the best for your race. And I think
Thank you.
when this podcast is out, I think you know you'll know what is the result by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like so ask Rizal, if you're watching this, ask him what was his achievement in the race. So yeah, thank you so much, Rizal, for doing this before, and great
No,
chatting with you
same
as
here, man.
always. So last question before we go, who else would you recommend to be on this podcast?
I've got a whole bunch of friends, but I think that if you want to go for something very unique, I have this one guy that I thought that he's worth tapping into. His mind is an innovation mindset. So his name is Mr. Firdaus Johari. Very passionate, and he speaks about innovation. He calls him his hashtag is Innovasilah, and I've
Ooh.
worked with him before, and he's helped me with my clients as well. So I think that he's one person that you should reach out to. Really cool. And then the next one, can I recommend another one? I
Sure,
think
you can experiment as many as you want.
another one is the rockstar speaker. I've interviewed Johan. I
Oh,
have
I know
interviewed
Johan.
Firdaus.
Yes.
Yes, that's Johan. So Johan is a rockstar
Ah.
speaker. So he's got this amazing concept called the rockstar speaker, and it's the same. He spoke about rockstar speaker in the same day I spoke about the incomplete leader in 2021, 2022. Sorry. So I think it's very cool because a lot of people should know about how to become a rock star speaker. You don't have to be a grand speaker or trainer or international speaker. You just have to know how to present. But being a rock star speaker just really defines who or how you are when you speak to people. So I thought that's very useful. So those two. Um, if there's a businessman to be interviewed, I do have a few names that I think that is very cool. I don't know if you can get him.
Sure.
So this is one guy called Kylie who leads the 500 startups.
Oh, Kylie
Build.
Ng.
Yeah,
Oh,
yes, yes, yes.
yes,
I'm
yes.
quite intrigued by him. I don't
Ah,
know
okay,
him
okay.
personally.
If I get him, I'll let you know.
Yeah, yeah, I think he's pretty cool. That mind
Ah.
move. His mind moves like an F1 car. So
Oh, yeah, yeah. If you follow his story, it's quite amazing how he had sales and then from sales exit and then
Rev
go to
Asia,
US.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, so many things. Oh my
yeah.
God. Yeah, yeah. Feel free to DM me on the WhatsApp. Who else do you think? So like I love talking to Asian business leaders. So
Mm,
if like the pretext of this podcast, when we talk about Asian business leaders, we don't talk about Kylie. We talk about all the Gary V's, the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos. So I really want this podcast to be a platform for Asian business leaders only.
yeah, let's go for it, man. You're doing
Right.
good stuff.
Thank you, Rizal. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
And please connect with Rizal on LinkedIn and many other platforms as well. And check out his race. Please race with him as well. DM him and arrange a race together with him.
Let's do it.